Welcome to The Teller's Turn, where stories come alive in the realms of mystery, horror, and the fantastical. From eerie legends to spine-chilling tales, our channel is your gateway to the unknown. If you love captivating narratives that spark the imagination and send shivers down your spine, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join us on this journey into the mysterious. Hit the notification bell to never miss a story. Now let's begin the story. It was a New Year's Eve like any other, except for the location. A group of friends bound by years of shared memories had decided to escape the city's chaos and ring in the new year somewhere remote, away from screaming crowds and crackling fireworks. Their chosen destination, a weathered, tucked-away cabin deep in the woods. Its wooden frame groaned with the weight of untold stories, the smell of aged timber permeating the air. The cabin's eerie charm, its creaking floorboards and chilling drafts, was embraced as an unconventional but fitting backdrop for their celebration. Unknown to them, the cabin had its own plans. For storytellers in search of inspiration and horror enthusiasts yearning for a gripping tale, it's here that narrative tension is born, in unsuspecting, tranquil beginnings that spiral into chaos. As dusk fell, the friends, Sarah, Jake, Rachel, and Mark, bustled around the living room, enlivened by music and the scent of spiced cider. The night appeared perfect for laughter and nostalgic storytelling, but even as their voices rang out, there was a strange undercurrent in the atmosphere. It felt as though the cabin itself was listening, as though its walls were waiting. This setting strikes a balance between charm and dread, a remarkable tool for aspiring horror storytellers to anchor an audience. Contrasts, like joy clashing against disquiet, are fertile ground for suspense. The countdown approached. Drinks flowed, memories were shared, yet the lingering unease remained ever present. Then came the sound. Knock! The sharp rapping broke their chatter, slicing the warm atmosphere in two. 4 pairs of eyes exchanged glances, bewilderment blooming into tension. They weren't expecting anyone. Who, they wondered, could possibly be at the doorstep in the middle of nowhere? With hearts pounding, they opened the door. It was Alex. He'd been their friend once, a bright thread in the tapestry of their younger days. But he'd vanished 3 years ago, without a goodbye and without explanation. And now, here he stood. How are you here? Sarah stammered, her heart racing. Alex smiled, but it wasn't a smile any of them recognized. It was too calm, too knowing. As he stepped inside without a word, shadows seemed to deepen. For storytellers, this moment is critical. The unexpected return of a missing figure both jars and intrigues the audience. The house embraced its new occupant, or so it seemed. Unease hung heavier in the air now, tangible and oppressive. Alex, though friendly on the surface, seemed too still, as though he were an intruder slipping into someone else's skin. The tension reached a crescendo when Mark suddenly vanished. One moment he had been standing by the counter pouring himself another drink, and the next he was gone. His phone lay abandoned on the counter. There were no sounds of footsteps, no creak of the door, just silence. Panic rippled through the cabin. "Where'd he go?" Jake demanded, his voice tight with fear. Alex, unbothered, merely shrugged. "He probably stepped outside for some air," he said softly, almost dismissively. But nobody had heard the door open. This pivotal moment marks the shift from disquiet to dread. Horror thrives when the familiar, like a boisterous friend, suddenly disappears without reason. A lesson here for storytellers. Pull away the safety net when your characters least expect it. The cabin grew colder as the countdown to midnight ticked closer. The wind rattled against the windows, but what unnerved the group more was Alex's expression. Something had changed. His placid demeanor now brimmed with something darker, a quiet malice. "You shouldn't have brought me back," Alex said, his voice low but heavy with meaning. "This night has been waiting for you." The final seconds of the year dissolved into chaos. Doors slammed shut with unnatural force, cutting them off from the outside. The lights flickered, only to plunge them into darkness as the clock struck 12. And then Rachel was gone. These moments are where horror finds its home, as the unknown and the unexplained tighten their grip on both characters and audience. Each disappearance is a nail in the coffin of hope. Fear swallowed Sarah and Jake whole as the cabin seemed to warp around them. The structure was no longer a haven. Its walls stretched and snapped back in an otherworldly manner, transforming the once charming home into a labyrinth of darkness. "What's happening?" Jake gasped, yanking at the front door. But where the door once showed a snowy forest, there was now only blackness. Sarah turned on Alex, fury rising above her fear. "What did you do? What is happening to us?" He grinned, his teeth gleaming in the dim light. "You never should have come here. This place belongs to something far older than you think." Here, storytellers learn another lesson. Amplify the stakes. Fear must take hold of not just the physical space, but also the character's very sense of reality. The truth seeped out like venom. Alex explained, not with guilt or mercy, but with the detachment of someone resigned to his fate. The cabin was cursed, he revealed, and he had been its prisoner since the night he disappeared. Every New Year's Eve brought a cycle of victims, a grim tradition fueled by an ancient nameless force. The ritual demanded a harbinger, and this time it was Alex. He was the bait to lure them back, the cursed guide who had no choice but to shepherd his friends into the same trap that held him. Each disappearance fed the curse, giving it strength to endure another year. Sarah and Jake listened, paralyzed, the grim reality plunging their hearts into despair. They, and countless others before them, had no escape. They were doomed to fade into the cabin's endless hunger. As Sarah and Jake tried to flee, the cabin resisted, its walls closing in as if alive. Desperation clawed at Sarah's throat as she pounded on the door. But the countdown had already begun. "What will happen to us?" she asked, tears mixing with the icy air. Alex tilted his head, his expression distant. "You'll join the others, and the story will begin again next year." The clock ticked loudly, a hateful sound that obliterated all hope. The knock at the door and the arrival of Alex shattered the illusion of safety, anchoring suspense. The cabin story serves not only as a chilling tale, but as a blueprint for unforgettable horror. The countdown has begun. Are you listening?